Back when I started this channel, my life was very different, both in terms of ideology and just my personal life. That was back when the alt-right was just starting out. I remember reading the first couple articles on TRS. I was more kind of involved with NRX back then. It was before I got treatment for bipolar disorder. It was even before I started going through RCIA, and I converted to Catholicism. And kind of one of the main reasons I started it was to kind of be a place where initially, when it was just kind of more me, a place where I could kind of get my thoughts together, you know what I mean? Like explore things, try to figure out what was going on in the world. And as more and more people came in, one of the things I really like about this channel is I have a broad range of people who follow me. I know I have some liberals who follow me. I know I have atheists who follow me, Christians, all kinds of different people. And I like to think this is a good place where you can just kind of think about things. I mean, obviously we all have our convictions and our beliefs, but something I've always tried to do over time is to just kind of explore things, look at them from different perspectives, etc. Because we're all lost in a lot of ways, and we're all looking for direction. And I think that's always a very important exercise. As Descartes would say, to just deconstruct everything and then start up again from the base. And that's something I've tried to do repeatedly over the years, and you see me change a lot over time. On certain issues, I've evolved or grown or changed. Now, the thing that's really worried me the most throughout this whole process, and not just with me, but in the wider society, when we had 4chan, when we had Poll, when we had the alt-right, when we had Trump winning the election, and now I guess we have kind of the reorganized dissident right, is what if this whole thing is just fake? What if this whole thing is just a bunch of guys LARPing on the internet, and no one actually really has any conviction to any of this? And I don't mean the whole, like, dying in the street thing. Although I do hope if the situation arose, I'd have the courage to die for Christ. But that's not the point. I'm not talking like that level or like rise up or things like that, but just a very basic commitment to your principles and an attempt to, as best as you can in your flawed way, to try to live by them and to stand by them. And my concern has always been, maybe me and just everybody else, this is all just a delusion. This is all just us, like I said, LARPing on the internet, having fun, trying to trigger people for the lulz, I guess you could say, to use the old expression. And I don't think that's really that strange a concern, because I mean, if you think about it, the modern dissident right, as it kind of was, as it is as a popular phenomenon, grew out of meme culture. Specifically, what kind of happened was something called Neo-Sincerity. So what it started out as is a lot of people wanted to be shocking on 4chan. They're like, okay, we want to shock people, etc. And traditionally, during the 50s or whatever, you'd say you're a communist, you'd say you're a hippie, you do drugs, and those would be the way you shock your parents. It's something every generation likes to do. And because our previous generations are liberal and politically correct and globalist, people said, okay, well, let's take the opposite of that. Let's take like fascist imagery, let's take like racial stuff, let's take like super socially conservative positions like traditional Christianity. Let's take all this stuff that is completely taboo and let's adopt it. And let's use it as kind of a bludgeon to shock people. And what kind of happened is in The Dark Knight, it's the expression is either you die or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. I guess in this case, either you give up or you LARP long enough that you see yourself become what you were pretending to be. And I think that's what happened to a lot of people, was they started out as trolls, and then they really started to get into it. Like they said, they started LARPing maybe as a crusader, but eventually they did become Christian. Or they started LARPing as a Nazi, but maybe they did actually develop a kind of sense of nationalism. And maybe they started out with like Thought Patrol memes, but they eventually kind of graduated into, I guess, I don't know, a more traditional patriarchal view of the world. And to me, that was, when that started to happen, I was overjoyed. Because if you think about this, like 10 years ago, like right after Obama won, The right had no ground game. There was no ground game at all. The comment boards were just full of liberal comments, etc. And within kind of a couple years of all this stuff starting, they had to shut down the comment boards on most sites. The internet, like, just became very right wing overnight as a result of this. And I'm not going to say memes got Trump elected, but it was the online kind of meme movement, I think, definitely helped him a lot to get a lot of kind of cultural force behind him. The internet is increasingly becoming an important part of, I guess you could say, the pop culture and political culture, and the extremely disproportionate to, I guess, kind of the money and power of the online right is becoming increasingly prevalent in society. Like, you're starting to see it. Like, you saw Justin Trudeau come out against Gamergate. So all that being said, my fear this whole time is that, like I said, this is all just people doing it for the lulz, just trying to screw with people, and that there was nothing to it. And I'm still worried that maybe I'm like that. Maybe everything I've done is there's no real conviction there. It's just me wanting to be iconoclastic. And I bring this up and getting to the point like 6 minutes into the video with the whole YangGang thing. The whole YangGang thing. Because it is like the biggest black pill I've had in a long time. Bigger than the Republicans losing the House. Bigger than Brexit getting delayed. Bigger than like some of the things Pope Francis has done. The YangGang is a massive, massive black pill. Because it's one thing if your enemies hit you, because you expect them to hit you. You expect them to try to shut you down. You expect them to attack you, to besmirch you, to lie about you. That's understandable. That's bad, but that's something that you are psychologically prepared to deal with, and you have procedures in place to deal with it. But to see your comrades defect en masse, and not only just defect en masse, but defect en masse for a really stupid, lame, selfish reason, is really discouraging. Because there are people who just leave these circles and become liberals, and I can understand that. I felt that temptation myself, because it would be so easy. You just go, you denounce everybody, you become a hero, you get, I don't know, money from the government, you become like an anti-racism speaker or something. It would be so easy. And then you wouldn't have to be angry anymore. You wouldn't have to complain about degeneracy. You wouldn't have to worry about your country. You just go and, I don't know, watch Marvel superhero movies and talk about your cell phone plan. And there's something very attractive about that, because it's not pleasant being triggered all the time. But that I get, and the people who just snap and go apeshit, I get that too. And the people who like start to sympathize with Muslim, like radical Islam, I get that too. Like, those things make sense to me. I don't agree with them, but they make logical sense to me. The whole YangGang thing doesn't really make sense to me. Basically what happened is some weirdo came along and he said, I'm going to give everybody $1,000 a month. And all these people, like, who for the last, God, it's like 7 or 8 years now, have been doing memes and talking about saving the West and Trump, and we got to get Trump in power, and we got to get the Front National elected, and we got to get Britain out of the UK. All these people have been putting in all this effort for all this time, just left. And they're like, we support Yang now because he's going to give us free money. And it's just the most crass, materialistic sellout I can think of. And I mean, it really does conjure the 30 pieces of silver, which was a month's wage, because they're selling out basically everything for a month's wage. And Yang is, like, I don't even really need to talk about his policies. We know his policies. He's a globalist, ultra-liberal. I mean, but these people are willing to sell their souls. They're willing to sell their dignity, and do so enthusiastically for $1,000 a month. And like, he's not going to win. Like, we all know this. So it's not even like they're ever going to see any of this money. It doesn't even make financial sense for them to try to get him elected. But these people are like fanatical about it. They're just like, yang, 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 gang. And it really bothers me. It bothers me because I thought some of these people were made of sterner stuff than this. I'm not like talking about dying in the streets. I'm talking about not supporting some random weirdo who wants to give you money. But I think it shows what a lot of these people are like, that they weren't people of principles or morals or anything. And I don't want to be self-righteous here, because I have a lot of issues of my own. But the fact that all these people abandoned everything they believed in or claimed to believe in over the last decade just really bothers me. And it's really hard for me to accept. And it's just... it's blackpilling. It's blackpilling more than just about anything else. Like I said, they can shut down, they can censor the internet, etc. I mean, we all expect that. We all expect that our enemies are going to go after us. But when a lot of the people we thought were friends just overnight completely abandon everything in favor of somebody who's going to give them a couple bucks a month, it just really bothers me. And it makes me wonder, am I just doing this for the lulz? Am I just as delusional? Do I actually believe in the things I do? And it really makes you question reality, because meme culture and internet culture is where a lot of us came from. And once you start to doubt whether or not any of that was real or any of that was sincere, it becomes a really bad place to be. And it certainly doesn't help the movement, as it were.